I'm Nick Pettit.
I'm Jason Seifer.
And you're watching the Treehouse Show, your weekly dose of internets where we talk about all things web design, web development, and more.
In this episode, we'll be talking about web icons, Webshims, jQuery coding standards, and more.
Let's check it out.
First up, we're going to be talking about the iconic web icon system. Now, this is, just to be clear, a paid project, and they are not sponsoring the show, but people have been talking about it quite a bit lately, so we're going to go through and take a look at why people have been talking so much about Iconic. So we've talked about a ton of different icon systems on the show here before, but why talk about this one? Well, it's interesting because, as it says on the site right here, which verifies that I can read, it is much more than a static icon set. So these are actually different pieces of SVGs that are layered together to create what you see as the icons on the screen. Now, one of the benefits that you get when all these icons are in a bunch of different pieces is that you can style these elements and you can style different parts of them. So if we take a look at this camera right here, we can see that the lens, the barrel, the glass, all of these different things are different parts of the icon, so you can make them different colors if you choose to. We can see an example right here where there are just tons of different colors inside these icons, and you can even create different themes for the icon set. So here it is, contained, multi-tone, ton of different things. Now, one other great thing about this icon set is it is responsive and scalable. So it's a few different sizes, 16 by 16, 32 by 32, and 128 by 128. Now you can see how it reacts to responsive resizing. If we drag this slider right here, you can see at the smallest size, the details that aren't important are hidden, and then as it gets larger, we get more and more detail into these large icons. So we'll have a link in the show notes to the Iconic icon set. Now, as I said, they're not sponsoring the show. We just thought it was a really cool project, so make sure to check it out.
Very nice stuff. Well, next up is FirstTime User Experiences. This is a Tumblr blog that...
I think it's called a Tumble log.
Tumble log?
Yeah, Tumblog.
That makes more sense. This is a Tumble log that basically categorizes and catalogs first-time user experiences, or the blank slate, which is something that we've talked about before. Basically, they take an existing app, and this looks like it's some kind of running app, and they say what they think is good about it and what they think should be improved. And this is a really important and subtle part of building user experiences. So this is a really great blog to keep up with if you are trying to build out the blank slate in your app or the empty state in your app. So for example, on this running app, they say that the app defers its intro until after a person selects try Strava. I guess that's the name of the app. And it doesn't force people to see that intro tour until after they've gotten started with it. It also offers a limited functionality trial, so you can try out the app. So that's pretty cool. And then they offer a couple of things for improvement. There's a whole bunch more posts here. It's a pretty nice blog. I love the nice big screenshots here and how detailed they are for each individual user experience. Definitely worth checking out.
Definitely. You know, we talk about blank slates here all the time, so that's great for further in-depth reading.
Definitely.
Next up, we have a project called Webshim, or maybe it's Webshim. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but this is a polyfill that lets you reliably use HTML5 features across browsers, even if native support is lacking.
You know, Jason, I just looked at it again. I think it says we BS him.
Oh,
that
Treehouse Show theme, right?
That must be it.
There we go. So this gives you just a ton of different things that you would use if you want to start using HTML5, but maybe for business reasons, you're limited to older browsers, and you really want to start using these HTML5 features. You can see a bunch of different things are supported here. You can support geolocation, and it's very, very easy to use. You know, you throw this Webshim or WebBSHim library into your project, start it up, and you are pretty much ready to go. You just call the different attributes that you want to start. So if we want to use the polyfills, we call this polyfill method. That sets up everything for us. And currently it supports these features: ECMAScript 5, geolocation, canvas, forms, media elements, tracks, file readers, and details. So we talk a lot about polyfills, and here's an actual project that you can use in your own projects. You can find a link to this in the show notes, which you can get to at youtube.com/GoTreehouse, or search for us on iTunes, we're the Treehouse Show, and make sure to subscribe and rate us.
Very nice. Well, next up is Wirefy. This is a very simple front-end framework that allows you to prototype your apps before you go on to maybe a more robust front-end framework like Bootstrap or Foundation. So here's what the homepage looks like. It says, build intuitive, powerful wireframes for smarter web development. Let's take a look at the lists example here. And you can see that they're basically just styling this using almost no classes at all. In fact, this is what it looks like when there's no classes. So they've opted for no bullet points here, just some spacing to communicate where each element is nested. If you apply some classes, you can start to get some basic styling. So if you want maybe square bullet points, you can apply the square class and so on. So it just provides some super basic styling so that you can wireframe your app using code. So you can create these really quick prototypes without having to include all of the classes that you might find in Foundation, Bootstrap, and other front-end frameworks. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Next up, we have a post on jQuery coding standards and best practices. Now, as you might expect from that title, you're going to learn how you should be programming jQuery if you aren't doing these things already. Now, in addition to just best practices, it's kind of going over things that are going to be more performance improvements as well. So first up, there's just great advice like store and cache your jQuery variables, which means that if you're doing a selector like grabbing my div in jQuery, assign that to a variable so that you don't have to perform this lookup and applying jQuery to each element every single time. Every time you go back and use my div, you would use the variable instead. Now, then it goes through, it talks about the different selectors and what is slow and what is fast. Now, in the most general sense, you want to use ID selectors when you can, or when you're using class selectors, don't use the element type in your class selector. Now, it goes through and has just a ton of different advice for selectors, DOM manipulation, events, even AJAX requests. So, too much to go through here on the show, but really these are things that you should be doing if you're using jQuery in your projects.
Next up is the random user generator, which is a plugin for Photoshop that allows you to generate pictures of random people with some random names. So they have a little example here of what it will look like once it's actually installed in Photoshop. So you can choose if you just want to generate men, women, or both, and you can click the new random user button to generate some different photos and different names. This is really helpful if you're trying to prototype an app and maybe you're using Wirefy, for example, and you want to actually include some images. So you could do this in your Photoshop mockups, or you could actually carry these over to your code if you wanted to. So this is helpful if you don't want to just include lorem ipsum text and a bunch of boxes for your prototype. You actually want to include real copy and real images to get an idea of what the app is actually going to look like and kind of test its limitations, see what your margins and padding and all that sort of stuff looks like with real information. So that's pretty nice. It's easy to install, and you can basically just use it as simply as the example shows you. You just click the new user button or new random user, and it will generate some text and an image that you can paste directly into your document. So,
Nick, check this out. See the little box on the site there where it says random user generator? If you move that, you ready? Look at that, look at that. Oh, look, there's a kitten waving at you, huh?
Look at that.
Look at that.
I'm just going to use that for everything instead.
Yeah, I had to really pause for a second to see it.
Very nice.
Get it?
I get it. I got the joke.
Yeah. Next up, we have a project called ScrollMagic. Ooh.
Magic.
Yeah, this is one of those parallax scrolling libraries. Look at this. There's a magic top hat on the site.
What?
And if I start scrolling down, what? Look at that. It's a wand. That's ScrollMagic. But that's not all. You were saying you want more? Hey, we got more, buddy. Check this out. We can fade, we can move, we can spin, scale, adjust text properties, pin if you wanna, don't have to. Look at this, just a ton of different possible options for parallax scrolling on your site. And we're seeing a lot more sites use parallax effects these days. So here is ScrollMagic. Boom, that's it. Do you need more than the examples? Do you need more than that? Because I don't have any more. That's all I got, and all I got is ScrollMagic.
You can use magic to impress your friends.
Yeah, I hope you're all impressed.
Next up is a post from the Mozilla Hacks blog on the Gamepad API. So if you weren't aware, there's actually a W3C specification that's in draft form right now for adding gamepad controllers to your site. Now, why would you do this? Well, if you're working on an HTML5 game, or maybe you're building a project in WebGL, you might want to provide an alternative control scheme other than the mouse and keyboard so that you can open up your game to new audiences. Say that you want to attract more than just the PC gaming crowd and you want to try to get console users into your game. This is a great way to do that. Alternatively, gamepads could also be used as an alternative controller for something that's like a living room experience or the 10-foot experience, and you can use that to navigate some kind of entertainment experience where you're trying to maybe choose a video to watch on like Netflix or something like that. Now, it has okay-ish browser support right now. It works in Firefox and it works in Google Chrome. Chrome, it works out of the box. There's a couple of small quirks right now, but with Firefox, you actually have to enable it up until Firefox 28 is released, and the current version is Firefox 27, so that should be coming soon.
Actually, it just came out the other day.
Did it really,
Yeah.
Jason? Thank you so much for
live
informing
update.
me. Wow. So it's enabled by default now. That's really cool. And you can use the Gamepad API in a couple of different ways. You can detect, the analog control sticks, the different buttons, the different triggers and D-pads, bumpers, that kind of stuff, and it will map those to an array, and you can use that in your game or in your entertainment experience. So here's what that object looks like. There's a bunch of stuff in this object. I definitely recommend you check it out. Don't have time to go into all of it on the show here, but if you're building an HTML5 game, it's definitely worth taking a look.
Yeah, I'm personally really happy that I implemented the Konami code on my website way back in the day.
Smart. Well, that's all we have time for today. I am at NickRP on Twitter.
And I am at Seifer. For more information on anything we talked about, check out our show notes, which you can get to at youtube.com/GoTreehouse, or search for us in iTunes, and please rate us. We are The Treehouse Show.
And of course, if you'd like to see more videos like this one about web design, web development, mobile business, and so much more, be sure to check us out at teamtreehouse.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.